the whole musical is about the keeping of traditions, but also the breaking of traditions. And this production in itself is a little bit of a non-traditional approach.
It's time for our favorite podcast, Cut to the Chase. Maybe you're in South Florida in March and April, and you're looking to do a little theater, maybe. Something old, something new. Could you get something old and something new? Yes, you can. And I have just the person to tell you what to do. Sandra Portal-Andreu, who I've known for a long time. I knew her originally. She was a modern dancer. Now she's like choreographer, modern dancer, entrepreneur, adjunct professor, lots of these things. How are you doing today, Sandra?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Greg.
My pleasure. Okay, so what's going on? What do you do? You're like choreography now. You're good. I'm not even gonna like spill the beans. What's your latest project that is going on as we speak?
As we speak. So, yeah, I'm working on Fiddler on the Roof. So, a very classic musical, but this time I'm working with Zoetic Stage. So, I need to obviously let everybody know about that. The show actually opens on March 13. It will be running until April 6th, which is a Sunday. And the shows will run from Wednesday through Sunday during that sort of month-long period. And yeah, I'm choreographing the show. Knew the director, the artistic director of Zoetic Stage, Stuart Meltzer, for a really long time. We both were teachers at the New World School of the Arts in the theater division. He reached out to me one day and asked me if I was interested in taking on this project. He had a different vision of what this project was going to look like. The whole musical is about the keeping of traditions, but also the breaking of traditions. And this production in itself is a little bit of a non-traditional approach.
Were you just giving me like a prompt to do tradition?
Tradition.
Tradition. Okay,
Yeah.
so the main thing is it's keeping the plot the same, but there's nuance or a new way of looking at it. Some I don't want to give away too much, but
Yeah. I mean,
it's not like you're going to see the same Fiddler on the Roof that you saw.
no. No, no. And I'll say that I've never seen Fiddler on stage. I've seen the movie, and when I was doing, research for this show, I noticed that a lot of other productions have been very prop intensive. We do have our share of props, but there is a sense of I want to say almost like a modern sort of a modern minimalistic approach to this performance, to this rendition of Fiddler. I kind of used that inspiration as well when it came to the movement. I did a lot of research on traditional Jewish dances, specifically in festivities, weddings. But then I was also taking a look at traditional dances that are done in Russia. I saw a little bit of a symmetry because the story is set in Anatevka, which is sort of like the Russian Ukrainian region. I found a little bit of symmetry there within the ways that people dance in lines and circles, creating sort of geometric patterns on the floor. So I kind of like took a little bit of that information, and then I kind of brought in a little bit of my sort of movement background and flavor to give it a little bit of a personal touch and approach as well.
All right. So let's go like choreography 101. You get hired to be the choreography,
Yeah.
to do the choreography. What does that mean? Give me like the whole, a play is coming. We've got a producer. What's involved with that? You got a producer, a director, a choreographer.
Yep.
What are the roles and what
Um,
is your role as a choreographer?
yeah, so and musical director. So I have to also mention that Carol Fantle, I've been working with her for God on different projects. I met her when my oldest son, Julian, who was 2 years old. So I've known her for 13 years, and she's just been an incredible person to work with and collaborate with. But it's really this blend between the director, the musical director, myself. And in this case, we're also working with not, costume designers, prop makers, and lighting designers and whatnot. But before we get into that, usually the preliminary meeting is between us three. The director, myself, and the musical director. I think every project is different because every director that I've worked with is different. But usually it's like, talk to me about what your vision is, how you see this play, how is it presented? Is the theater in the round? Is it in a thrust stage? Is it a proscenium stage? Like, what's the stage look like, right? Because especially in the arched studio theater, you really configure that theater in different ways. So I like to take notes on what the audience perspective is going to be and where they're going to be placed. And then what are the configurations in the stage? Are there certain, like, is there a table, right? Is there architecture within the stage? So once I understand at least those parameters, then I start, doing the research, either reading the play, if it's a play or a musical. In this case, I wanted to, I saw the movie a long time ago when I was a child. I feel like all those songs came back to me in a flood. And I saw it again. I took notes when I was watching the movie on just like, relationships and things like that. And so then I take all of that in and I start working with the music. Like I start listening to the music starts getting, I listen to it a lot. I start taking notes. Sometimes I might even on my own start making up little movement phrases that are almost like I look at them as sketches and I record myself just to kind of keep whatever kind of inspiration comes to me in the moment. And I use it sometimes as feeder when I need it in the moment, right? Where I'm like, I'm okay. I feel like I have a moment here. What do I need? And then I kind of look through my scribble videos and then I'll be like, oh, yes, this moment. Okay, that could work here. So it's a lot of planning in the background and just kind of like creating some sort of movement phrasings that I could work with. But really, again, every production is different. In this case, I came into the room without really knowing any of the actors.
Yeah.
I had never worked with them before. So I didn't know what their sort of dancing abilities were or what perhaps limitations they have. And so it's almost like kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. But I would come in and I'd be like, okay, to start with tradition, right?
Yeah.
There's this moment that they enter, and this is what I see. And I looked at it more as like a bird's eye view map, right? So I would draw like circles and lines and things and arrows where people would enter and exit and things like that. But the filler, the meat of it, I had to workshop with them. So I would be like, okay, I want everybody to sort of enter into this sort of like star pattern, if you will, right? Creating like a star or a big X on the floor. But how do we get there? Okay, well, I have X amount of music, because that's the other thing too. You have to measure the music. So you have to listen to the music, understand how much phrasing I have in the music that I can play with and add movement to, right? Before it cuts into a scene and then that breaks, right? So understanding that timing, understanding my floor patterns, and then adding the meat by working with them on that is kind of intensive.
All right. So the actors and actresses, are they local South Florida people? Are they New York people? Are they traveling all over the place?
Yeah, there's sort of a mix of actors. A lot of them are local. They do mostly come from Fort Lauderdale, some even coming from Boca.
Yeah.
There's a few from Miami. There is one particular actor that is originally from Miami, but he came in from New York. So yeah, it's kind of like a nice local group of artists.
Nice. All right. So just like some of the specifics about the show, when you say the Arch Center, so is that where it's going to take place?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Art Center for
And
the Performing Arts. But it to clarify, they have the Opera House, which is the larger theater space, and then you have the Studio Theater. It used to be called the Carnival Theater, I believe, but yeah, it's the smaller, sort of more intimate space.
okay. And some of the shows, from what I understand, are already sold out. So if
Yep.
you are interested, you should get tickets, I would imagine.
Yep.
Hope that it gets picked up and that it starts to go to, off Broadway, on Broadway, to the Berkshires.
I think since this play is like has been around for such a long time, I mean, it's one of those plays that they have to license, and so each sort of theater house company, gets their opportunity to license the work, and then they produce their own sort of renditions.
So just, there a lot of parents have kids, they're singing, they're dancing, they're into it. But then the
Yeah.
parents are like, wow, can my child really make a living in the theater world? And you seem to be a perfect example of somebody that was, all right, I'm a dancer, but now you're expanding and you're making it happen. Like, what tips do you give the younger generation that's, or even the parents that
Mm,
whose kids show some, you know, they can sing, they can dance?
right. Wow. There's a lot to say. Well, one, I will say that being in Miami, the community, the arts community has grown a lot in at least during my sort of professional time, right? And I started dancing professionally at like 17, 18 years old. There wasn't really a lot of opportunities then. I mean, there were, but it was, things were very sort of segregated, I guess, if that's the word, right? If you were a dancer, you were a dancer. And if you were an actor, you were an actor. And so I didn't really know that I could enter into these different spaces until I was much older. But I think that the nature of art making now is very interdisciplinary. And what I mean by interdisciplinary is that a lot of artists are very multifaceted. They're working with different disciplines and genres. You have perhaps dancers that are utilizing film, like I've done in a lot of my work, or visual artists that are creating performance pieces now and integrating movement. So I think as long as young people stay curious and are willing to open and collaborate and learn, I think they will have better opportunities to continue growing and continue doing the work that they want to do. Now, I also say that for parents that have their children that are very interested in things like that, that it's always a good thing to maybe allow them to explore other opportunities outside of the city, right? I'm doing that right now with my son. He's, not into theater, but he's a musician. And, we are really encouraging him to explore this practice, right? His drumming. And
Yeah.
what does that mean for him? So if it means him, studying somewhere else and learning other new things, new techniques, new ways of doing, right? And perhaps new skills that he might not get here, that's actually a good thing too. As long as parents are open to those opportunities for their kids, I think that that their kids will start getting a little bit more confident in the work that they do and perhaps be really bold about those decisions and all that. So it does take a village.
Now, listen, that's Julian that's playing the drums, and I don't
Yeah.
want to cause any drama in the Andreu household. So, what about Gabo?
Gabo,
Style two. What's his?
Gabo.
I mean, I know he's got a lot of pizzazz.
Got a lot of personality, but
No,
yeah,
so maybe stand up.
yeah, he's a ball of wonder. I'm trying to look, he plays the piano. He definitely has a lot of character. I'm asking these questions with him too, right? Like what interests you? What do you like? I don't think he's at the place where he's tapped into his skills yet, where he's like, oh my God, it took Julian a little bit of time to finally be like, oh, this is mine. Like I can do this and really start, listening to music as much as he's doing now, learning things. It took him a minute.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
took
yeah. Well, I got to tell you, my band's always on the lookout for a drummer. So, now that he's getting older and can handle us older folk. But okay, so let's go back to choreography.
Yes.
Are there like any choreographers out there that you are like, wow, I've got to see this person's work?
Yes. And you're putting me on the spot. It just so happens the other day I was on YouTube and I was trying to get my daily news on YouTube, and I follow the Netherlands Dance Theater, and their video just popped up and it was about Crystal Pipe, and she's a Canadian choreographer, but she's been working with Netherlands Dance Theater for quite a bit, and her work is really, really interesting, especially what she's developing now. She would be on the top of the list of who I would really love to see right now.
Okay, what about modern dance? Is there anything that
Oh,
you're
she
like,
is modern dance. She's modern dance.
she's modern dance? Okay, so that answers that.
Totally modern dance.
Okay, now you're going to New York in a month and a half.
Yep. What a
And
show to
and
see.
and your husband Juan, who's a great lawyer,
Mhm.
great civil litigator, says, Sandra, let's do whatever you want to do, but it has to be theater.
Yep.
Give me two shows that you're like, boom, we're there.
Okay, so definitely the first one would be Buena Vista Social Club.
Okay, love it. Yeah,
Yes. We're going to New York next week, and theoretically, I would love to see Buena Vista Social Club,
yeah,
which is actually choreographed by Patricia Delgado,
yeah.
who was a dancer with Miami City Ballet. I know her and her mother and her sister very well. And also, I would love to see, I'm not sure if it's running, but the Kit Kat Club.
Nice. Okay, now
Yeah.
to me, I think that it's a Zoetic Stage. It's been around for 15 years. They're the theater company that's doing the Fiddler on the Roof that you're choreographing. I hope I said that right. And from what I understand, some of the times they take older plays or musicals and they put sort of a modern spin on it, which is
Yep.
what's going on with Fiddler.
Yep.
And to me, I would think that the Buena Vista Social Club, with its Cuban connection, would be a great one for you. Maybe you tap on Stephanie Dimo's shoulder and say, hey, that Goldfarb guy had a great idea. Yeah, I want credit for that one. For God's sakes. Okay.
Well, it's
Anything else?
running now, so it would have to wait until
Yeah,
it
the smoke clears, so to speak.
yeah.
I love the
That would
music.
be a great, I love that idea.
All right. Did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I'm really excited about, this show. It's been a wonderful experience working with the cast. I do have another project also in the works for April that I'm super excited about.
Oh, really?
That one I'm going to be doing some movement directing, and I'm going to be also assisting directing with Teo Castellanos, who's the director of Piano Slam. So Piano Slam is a more, again, of an interdisciplinary performance where you're mixing poetry, music, classical music, and a DJ,
Oh, wow.
visual,
Nice.
and movement and theater. So it's going to be at the Arts Center as well at the night concert hall.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, I thank you for coming on to the show. I look forward to seeing you at Fiddler. I'm not going to sing If I Was a Rich Man, yada dee da 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 da. I wouldn't have to work hard. I promised I would not do that, but I did. Oh my God. All
I'm
right.
sure you
So,
were practicing.
I know, before the show, it's gonna be like, maybe I should print out the lyrics, but no, I got it. I got it.
You're
I got
going
it.
to know it. Everybody's going to be singing along too.
All right, no, that's going to be a lot of fun. Sandra Portal-Andreu, choreographer of Fiddler on the Roof, Zoetic Stage. It's playing now, March 13th through April 6th. Get your tickets now. Any
Now.
comments, put them below. And Sandra, I will see you at the theater.
All right. I'll see you, Greg.
All right.
That's all for this episode of Cut to the Chase. But before you go, will you open up your podcast app and give us a 5-star review? You can also leave a comment about what you liked most or other topics you'd like us to cover. And please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming shows. Thanks, everybody. Be safe out there.